Thinking of Christmas in the 70s, when I was a boy growing up in a village, the differences would strike us being rather interesting. One thing is that in those days, people did not have a lot of money. Food was not available as plentifully as it is now. Naturally, festival occasions were occasions when people would have a special meal and also a few delicacies which they normally wouldn't have or couldn't afford. Cakes were not this common or even half this common. We would rather go for some special food that were made during the Christmas time, like diamond cuts. And there was one halwa-like delicacy that was made. It was called orappam. And biryanis, fried rice, etc., were unheard of. We would have a meal with rice and perhaps a meat dish. And coming to other things, we did not know the word Santa Claus at that time. We would refer to Santa Claus as Christmas Father. We used to have Christmas Father visiting us. So on the Christmas morning, we would wake up with little gifts near our pillows, which we believed were placed there the previous night by Christmas Father. And I remember my grandfather used to tell us that Christmas Father would come inside the house through the chimney. And in a tiled house, we never had a clue where exactly this chimney was. And we always used to wonder a lot how this old man managed to enter the house once we have locked everything up. And we in the village used to burst crackers and have fireworks on the Christmas Eve. And about decorations, we used to decorate mostly with palm leaf. And there was a special plant which used to grow profusely in the village where I lived, which we used to collect. My cousins at least used to collect. Maybe a month before Christmas, he would start collecting it. And they would be well dried. These little shrubs would have kind of berries in it, and very small berries. They would also dry up. And this dried plants would be tied up to a pole very densely, and on the Christmas Eve we would ignite it. So it would light out, emitting small cracking sounds. So it was, and slight sparkles would fly out, and that was a special kind of firework that we had. About Christmas cards, we would receive quite a good number of Christmas cards. It was a very exciting thing to buy, send, and receive Christmas cards. And there would be, of course, a Christmas tree. And mostly the Christmas tree would be a branch of a tamarind tree or a casuarina tree if you could find one. The tree would be decorated largely with balloons and with the Christmas cards we received. And a star would certainly go up in front of the house, a paper star, and would keep a lighted candle or a little kerosene lamp would be placed carefully within the star. And carol rounds were there. The priest will be there in his ritualistic dress. And the other many people from the church, maybe around 15 to 20 people would be there. And they would have a big drum and a few other like similar percussion equipments which would make a lot of noise, so you would hear them half a kilometer away. The sound grows nearer and nearer from one house to the other. They would be moving. The brightest thing about carol was a Petromax lamp, which was the brightest object we saw in those days. We would give them some refreshments, mostly buns, coffee made of jaggery. And to talk about buns, it would sound funny to have buns now as a delicacy. But in those days, bun was considered a delicacy. Bread was a delicacy. And cake or any other above that, pastries were unheard of. Biscuits were, again, delicacy. So all these things were rather rare, delicate food that we would get. But we never had a man dressed up in red and white. So the dress code of red and white and the Santa Claus image, which is now predominantly related to Christmas, were not there in those days. So what we consider to be happy is different, but the happiness remains the same. So I wouldn't say the Christmas of my days weren't so good as now, or that the Christmas of my days was much better than Christmases of the present times.